Okay, someone sent me a text not too long ago. Excuse me. Someone sent me a text not too long ago asking why there were photos of me looking through my Facebook page featuring me in Raider Nation silver and black gear. You know, my history of following the Raiders is, rather extensive and broken up really into two periods. As a kid back east, I watched their last Super Bowl win, and that was Super Bowl 18 as a second grader when they annihilated the Washington Redskins. I had a feeling going into that game that they were going to win because, they announced that John Riggins had the flu. And he was really the engine that set up Theismann's air attack because teams had to respect John Riggins. That opened up the door for guys like Art Monk to really, kick ass at wide receiver. But when John Riggins had the flu, it really allowed the Raiders to just focus on shutting down the pass, and they had Michael Haynes and Lester Hayes to get that job done. Al Davis at that time was a renegade, and that was how that whole move to Los Angeles came to fruition. He basically said "fuck you" to the establishment and did what he had to do. So as a child who suspected atheism at a very young age, before I really confirmed it in '88, I could identify to the Raiders because they were a talented group of outcasts that really said "fuck you" to the establishment, which, as a young developing mind in the '80s, I could relate to that. But right when the '90s dawned, I enjoyed, some of the rap stuff. I'm a '80s metal guy first and foremost, but I did enjoy some of that NWA, Ice T, even Two Life Crew stuff at the time, and I hold nothing against NWA. They were talented rappers, obviously, and they've had great success as businessmen, and you know diving into acting like Ice Cube for the last 30 some odd years. So mad respect for them, but they really defanged what the Raiders represented. I hate fucking cults that the masses, approve of, which is what Catholicism and Baptist stuff represents. The Raiders were no longer like a niche product for renegade minds. When you saw every pimpled face teenager from coast to coast wearing Los Angeles Raider gear at the dawn of the '90s, membership to that team was no longer exclusive as a fan, man. And that really turned me away from supporting that team. I had a brief period, close to 30 years later, as soon as the Chargers were moving to to LA at the beginning of 2017, out of spite, I did hop aboard the Raider Nation freight train briefly for about a year. I thought, hey, been 30 years. Let's see, if it's any different now. I got more conversations and, you know, more people paying attention to me, if you will, in Los Angeles and the beaches, San Diego. When I was wearing Raider gear, chicks digged it. They're like, oh, Raider Nation. But I also realized that a lot of the fans weren't very smart. There was this girl that, I was talking to in a mall in El Cajon back during that period, 17-ish, and she thought Los Angeles was where the Raiders originated. So while the Raiders have some very loyal, knowledgeable, smart old school fans, a lot of them, quite frankly, are just dumb fucks that only care about the silver and black gear and the shit's gonna get worse. In Vegas too. Just like 30 years ago, every pimple faced kid from coast to coast is gonna rock Las Vegas Raider gear because they think they look like some Vanilla Ice dope boy or something. Who knows? But once I really allowed the anger over the move to LA to subside for the Chargers, I hopped aboard again, and I've adopted the Rams, who I had a little bit, of following for at times back in the '80s. I enjoyed watching them beat Dallas in the playoffs when they had Eric Dickerson and stuff like that. So I always liked their uniforms, and with both teams starting afresh a few years ago, LA and that whole beach area is transient in itself, just like Arizona. I kind of felt like that was there from the beginning. And Raider Nation is just an overexposed, oversaturated product. I'm sorry. Membership has not been exclusive to Raider Nation for 30 years. NWA really killed it as, a renegade maverick, type fan base. Yes, plenty of them are out there, but there's just too many people that don't fit that mold, and they are a national brand that's overexposed, just like the Dallas Cowboys, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers especially. All right, so pretty much that's my thoughts on Raider Nation. Have a good night.